Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you're doing well and enjoying the fall weather so far. Today, I wanted to go through a production/mix session for a song I just released called Midwest. And this song is kind of a stripped down acoustic song, so there's not a whole lot going on with the production, but I just thought it'd be kind of cool to kind of run through like my process and, you know, just plugins that I use and kind of how I go about doing this, like recording and mixing a song like this. I've always meant to make a video like this. I don't think I have, but I'm just kind of at a place now where I don't know. I love nerding out about, you know, audio stuff and film stuff. And so it's just I just want to try to, you know, just give some knowledge for anybody who's trying to, you know, do this kind of thing, make music, write songs, whatever. And just kind of show you how simple it actually is to do. Once you kind of get the hang of it and understand the basics of everything. So anyways, yeah, thanks for checking out the video. So if you haven't heard this song, like I said, it's out on like every streaming platform. It came out on October 4th. I got a new one dropping this Friday, October 25th as well. It's a single from a new EP, which is coming out in January. And that's kind of more of like an emo rap thing, super sad, you know, heavy stuff that I worked on over the last year. It's kind of a fun project. So, but yeah, this one's an acoustic track. So if you haven't heard it, go check it out. You can kind of get an idea of the song, but I'll play a little bit of it here. So that's the intro. And obviously the first step is writing the song, which is a whole other video, but it's also not that complicated. You know, I think a lot of people kind of approach songwriting like it's a formula or, you know, you have to do it a certain way. I've never done that. I just write whatever comes to mind. I sit there with my guitar or my piano and just kind of vibe out. And it's this song specifically, one of my friends pointed out the other day, it's pretty much the same melody, like vocal melody throughout the entire song, except for the chorus. There's like a bit of a change. But I didn't even realize that when I wrote it. It just kind of was like writing whatever I was thinking and feeling. And a lot of times when I write songs, pretty much every song, I start with the chorus. So, you know, whatever the song name is, usually is like a line from the chorus. This one actually isn't. It's like the very beginning line. But I just find it easier to write when I know where the song's going. And same with production too. Like I usually, you know, we'll build out the choruses and then kind of strip the production away for the verses. And I usually do pretty much all my music production before I record any vocals. I just find it easier to have, you know, a foundation for that. So, because the vocal is really like the, you know, it's the story, it's the thing that's playing out. And the music to me is just, you know, it's kind of like the background. You know, if you look at it like a picture or something, it's just like the trees and the setting and you know, whatever. And then the vocal is like the main character. So you can kind of paint an emotion and paint an atmosphere with the music. So let's just start with acoustic guitar. So the first thing I do when I've written the song and I'm ready to record it is I'll track my acoustic guitar. If it's an electric song, you know, I'll track my electric guitar. If it's a piano, I'll do the piano. But whatever the main instrument is, I'll do first. So I'm just going to solo this acoustic guitar track real quick and play it. So that's literally just, it's an open tuning, simple strumming pattern. And so once I've done, you know, I'll do a take of the verse and usually I'll break it up into the verse, chorus, and, you know, sometimes just copy over the first verse to the second verse. Or sometimes I'll do the song in one full take, but I just find it easier to break it up. So once I have the guitar tracked for the song, what I'll go ahead and do is track it again. So I'll record the exact same thing twice, and I pan one take all the way to the left and one take all the way to the right. It's just called double tracking. So I'll play it. So the reason I do that, it's a trick I learned like way back when I started. It's just because it's basically like having, you know, the guitar on the left and right of your headphones or speakers or whatever, so the vocal can sit in the middle and there's no conflict, and it just kind of fills it out. And instead of, you know, I guess you technically could copy the take and just paste it and pan them and move it a bit, but the reason that you want to like play it twice is because there's going to be subtle differences in like timing or how you play that just it makes them, I don't know how to explain it. It's just more authentic, and it just kind of builds out this nice like stereo thing when there's a little difference in both takes. So that's always the first step that I do, is I'll track the main acoustic twice. And if I have lead guitars or lead acoustic, I'll do the same thing. I'll track them twice, pan one all the way to the left, one all the way to the right. And so once I've done that, let's jump into kind of how I would process these. So I have a compressor, like a hardware compressor that I record with like on the way in. So it's an actual like hardware compressor, which is like baked into my recordings. And I'll get to compression here in a minute. But the first step that I would do is EQ. So basically what EQ is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically just taking the frequencies you don't want out. And sometimes you can boost certain frequencies, like, like the high stuff to make things shimmer a little bit. So I'll kind of explain how this works. So down here is like the low frequency. So like your bass and like, rumble and stuff like that. This is your mid, obviously. And up here is like the high stuff. So, just like the high stuff, like if you want more of like the kind of shimmery sound on your guitar, you could boost this a little bit. But what I'll start with is I'm going to cut out like pretty much all this area down here, because it's just going to be like kind of garbage noise that we don't want or need. So I'm just going to kind of do a even harder cut here. So I'll just play it. I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference. Usually can't, but. So now I know that any rumble or like weird bass sounds are just gone. And usually I'll cut around like, 100, like 80 to 100 hertz here. And that usually solves it. And I'll pretty much do that on everything besides like bass and stuff. Like I do that on vocals and everything else. So, and then the next step is going to be just kind of adding a little point here and sweeping through the frequency spectrum just to find frequencies that sound bad, and then taking them out. So you'll be able to hear this. So I'll just kind of sweep through and kind of show you what I'm talking about. I'm just going to solo this one. Okay. So you can hear that frequency. That's just this weird ring out. It doesn't sound very nice. So I'm going to take it out and just like kind of lower the volume of it basically. And we'll do another one here, see if we can find something else. And sometimes you don't have to do this. Like if something sounds good already, it's just like, okay. But a guitar, especially acoustic, there's always things that you probably want to take out. So let's try another one. So you can hear that one right away. Boom. Does not sound good. So we're going to take that out. So they sound a little bit thin, so I'm going to actually just basically like increase the volume a bit, because if you take out too much, it will start to sound thin. But with acoustics, I feel like that's usually okay, because acoustics are meant to kind of sit at the top of the mix. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And if you wanted to boost a little bit up here, you could. So I'll just show you an example. It's kind of an extreme example, but it's, just kind of gives it more brightness. So that's EQ. Basically, I would probably take more time with it, but that's just kind of like to show you how it works. And then the next step that I'll do is compression. So again, I have a compressor, like I said, kind of on the way in, but I love compression. I love like the sound of it. So a lot of times I just compress a lot. And what this is going to do is basically take the loud parts and bring them down. So you have more even dynamics, and then you can use your makeup gain to bring the lower parts up. So you're going to have more of a consistent waveform and just a more even signal, instead of some parts being super loud and some parts being super quiet. So let's just play this and I'll kind of run you through it. So you can see up here, that's basically those little lines are how much it's taking it down. So your threshold is going to be basically telling the compressor when to compress. And you don't want to overdo it, because I'll just show you an example of overdoing it. it's like super squashed and sounds, you know, kind of weird. So if you just aim for about 3 to 6 dB of compression, which you can see right here, that's usually kind of a good starting place. And there's all these other controls like ratio and attack and release, which I don't touch a whole lot. Like if I'm editing, you know, film dialogue or something, I'll mess with these more. But a lot of times, I don't know, they don't. I mean, some people probably go super heavy into them, but I just kind of leave whatever plugin I'm using. In this case, it's the Fab filter. Usually just leave it. If it doesn't sound good, I'll mess with these, but that's probably good enough. And then if I wanted to, you know, increase the gain a little bit, I could, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So EQ compression, and then some people will throw on like another EQ after the compressor, because sometimes compression does, you know, every compressor is different, every plugin's different, and they'll kind of have their own like tone and vibe. And the reason I love these Fab filter ones is because they're very transparent, so they don't really change the tone or the sound of whatever you're processing, and they're great. So another one I use is called CLA2A. That's a good one too. But that's honestly pretty much all I do for acoustic. I don't do too much with it. I never have. I've always kind of liked the more raw sounding thing. I've never aimed for, you know, everything sounding perfect in my songs. And I think a lot of times, like, you don't need to do that. You can do that. Depends what style of music you're doing. But especially for acoustic or singer-songwriter or something, I think it's nice to have it a little imperfect and just kind of raw and real. It's like, I don't know, it just kind of hits nice. So that's basically it for acoustic. And, you know, just copy that over to my other track here. And, probably won't be able to hear much of a difference, but it just sounds really nice. So once you have things kind of sounding good, then you're good. And like, that's kind of my gauge, is like, if it sounds good to me, I'm good. Like I'm not worried about like the technical side too much. I've just always kind of been like, yeah, this sounds good, let's roll with it. So so that's pretty much guitars, and I just obviously I broke it up into the chorus here, so that's the chorus guitars here. And I did do a third take for the chorus, and I put it kind of close to the center. It should actually be centered, and I have the volume a bit lower just to kind of fill it out. That's not really necessary, but I'll just play the chorus. So you can hear for the chorus, I did more of like an aggressive strum that was more like just down, 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 down. Whereas for the verses, it was kind of like down, up, and stuff like that. So just to kind of give the chorus a bit more rhythm. All right, so now let's move on to piano, I guess. So most of the time, I would say, you know, for an acoustic song, after I do the guitars, the acoustic guitars, and obviously if you wanted to sprinkle like any leads throughout the song, you would do that. But I'll usually lay down some piano, and most of the time I just kind of do a chord pattern that basically just follows whatever the chord pattern is, like a really simple one, so I'll play it. And so one trick that I learned, well, I don't know if it's a trick, but just something I've always done is, I don't know the technical. I'm not a music theory person, so I couldn't tell you like the scales and notes. I just don't know. But one thing I do know is that when you play chords, especially on like an emo song, there's one. So whatever the major, you know, whatever key this is in, like let's just say it's C. I will play that note with every chord, so you can hear this note here. It's in every chord. And it just kind of creates like a nice dissonance. And you could also do maybe this note. It might sound a little weird. Let's just try it. But I'll just play it. It sounds nice. But I just find like a lot of times like repeating the same note throughout the chords just is nice, and you can just mess around with that. So the piano that I use is a contact instrument. It's called Noir, and it is really nice. And there's lots of different, you know, pianos and instruments you can use. And if you have music software, like I use Logic, it's called Logic Pro. they'll come with their own, but I just really like that one. So that's yeah, so it's acoustic and piano. So let's play the acoustic and piano together here. So it's already sounding nice, and like the piano will just add that nice like warmth and kind of mid and like a bit of low end in there. So that already sounds nice. And then usually I'll do some kind of piano lead, even if it's just like one note ringing out that I repeat, or, you know, a couple notes. In this case, it was like kind of a dancey little thing. So let's play that real quick. So for this kind of thing, I do that because it just kind of adds like another texture to things, and it kind of helps if you have some kind of lead or rhythm, you know, lead. It just kind of helps move things along. So I'll play that with the acoustic now. And honestly, for figuring out these leads and stuff, I do the same thing. I just sit there and play stuff, and I'm like, oh, this sounds nice, and I'll record it. Like I don't overthink it too much. And this honestly like goes for most of my songs, kind of how I approach it. And then I have a glockenspiel, which is this instrument here. And I add those quite a bit, and a lot of times like I'll just kind of play the same thing that the piano lead is playing, just because it's almost in the same realm of a piano, but it hits a bit harder, and I feel like it accents the piano chords nice, or the piano notes nicely. Play them all. Very simple, honestly, and it's already sounding nice. And then I have like a cymbal swell going into it. And I just find like, you know, breaking up your verse and your chorus, you can do so many things, but cymbal swells are just the easy way, because it's just like a nice transition into it. And then it just kind of creates the illusion of this like hit when the chorus comes in, because all the other instruments come in. And then besides that, all I have is a bass, and I'm using the default Logic sub bass, which I use all the time. And I'm literally just playing the root notes. Solo the bass. So that's it. It's just playing the notes of the chords. And that is the entire chorus production. So let's just play it all without the vocals. And that's it. That's all I did for production on this song besides vocals. And then I have a little piano sprinkled in the intro and the first verse here, but and then I just repeat it for the second chorus. So that is it. That's the foundation for the track. And yeah, so now we can kind of move into vocals, which is obviously a big part. So before I get to like the lead vocals and stuff, I just want to show you like a lot of times what I do is I'll use bits of my vocals to create like atmosphere. So I'll solo this little thing. Why is this not playing? Oh, I have it muted. So a lot of times what I do is I'll use bits of my vocal and chop them up and add reverb and pitch and stuff, and just to create some atmosphere. So I'll play you this. Sounds weird on its own, but when you put it in the mix here, you can hear that. So that's just basically a ton of reverb on the vocal, and I have one at the beginning here. Some in the chorus. So I pitched it up for the chorus. So you wouldn't even really know it's there unless you soloed it, but it's a nice way to create like texture and atmosphere. And then I have also in the chorus, I have these oohs, which I did. And again, what I did for those, I did like 3 different versions, and then I just, you know, if I have one that's just like ooh, I'll do 2 takes of it, pan one all the way to the left, one all the way to the right, and then if I do a falsetto one, same thing, all the way to the left, all the way to the right, and then like a low one or a harmony all the way to the left, all the way to the right. So I double track all my vocal harmonies, anything besides the lead vocal, which I will double track sometimes on choruses or parts of a verse that I want to kind of be accented. But so I just kind of want to run you through like my vocal process. And I used to take a lot of time doing vocal takes, and I'd go through every line, every whatever, sometimes even in words. I was like, oh, it has to be perfect, but I don't do that anymore. Half the time I sit here and I record, I don't even stand up. I'm just literally how you see me right now is how I record. And that's just because I feel like I've gotten less attached to things being like super perfect. And also a lot of times they sound so similar anyways that, your first or second take can be fine. But that's just kind of a preference thing. That's a feelings thing. You'll know your own vocals, and you can kind of decide what you like and what you don't like. So first, when I record a vocal, take all the plugins off. I'm using, because some people might ask, this mic is called the Shure SM7B. A lot of people use it for podcasts. But it's a great mic. It's a great vocal mic too. But I've cycled through a lot of mics, like Audio-Technica I've used in the past, and AKG and a whole bunch. It doesn't really matter what mic you use, to be honest. It's kind of all about what you do in the post-production. So let's just play through a little bit of this.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
So just a normal vocal take. But anyway, so after you've recorded your take, and you can do that however you want, just record it till you like it. The first plugin I usually use is called Vocal Rider, and basically all this is just, it's literally a volume fader. So you kind of set your target loudness and softness and your target level, average level, and it's just gonna either raise the volume if it's too quiet or lower it if it's too loud. So it's kind of like compression, but not. It's just the volume. So
starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
So it's mostly bringing it down, but that just kind of evens it out a little bit, and it's not a necessary thing. I just use it a lot. So it just kind of evens out the signal so that, so this is like a plug-in chain. So whatever is on the top here is the first one, and then this is the second one, third one. So whatever you do up here will be what's being sent to these later ones, basically. So after that, I'll tune my vocal. I'm not going to go through that because last time I tried it, like froze my screen recording for some reason. But basically all tuning is like manual, I guess, auto tune. It's not auto tune. It's basically like putting all your vocal notes on a scale, and then you can go manually adjust them and, correct the pitch or whatever you want to do. You can be as aggressive or, kind of real with it as you want. It's totally up to you. I'm a fan of things sounding pretty perfect, at least for pitch. I just think it just sounds nicer. It's more polished. It's sits in the mix better, but that's my preference. And then after I tune them, which is another plugin, before this is auto tune. So this is literally just auto tune, and you can change like how hard you want it to hit or how, if you don't want it to hit very hard. But this basically just takes the tuned vocal and polishes it even more. And again, this is preference. It's just what I do. A lot of people aren't a fan of it, but I just like it. I like how it sounds, so I use that. And then again, after I do that tuning stuff, I will EQ, or sometimes I'll EQ before the tuning, but I usually have tuning first. And again, same thing is for the guitars. You're just sweeping through and finding frequencies that don't sound good. So just to give you an example.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with...
It's just a really nasty kind of frequency there. And then you could just do some more if you want. And again, you probably want to cut down here because you're not going to really need any of that.
Ended with a coffee shop.
There's still a bit of a weird boxy frequency in here, so let's try to find that one.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee.
It's close to that.
Starting with the Middle West, ended...
There it is. Bad frequency there, so.
Ended with a coffee shop.
So that's it. You're just going to EQ your vocals, take out stuff you don't want. If you want to boost the high end, you can. I don't do that with EQ because I have another plugin that kind of does that. So once you've EQ'd it, compression is the next one. Here, same thing we went through with the guitar.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
So again, it's just evening out the dynamics a little bit. So EQ, compression, de-esser. And again, you don't have to use these plugins. You can use whatever ones you want. There's a million different de-essers. Like, Logic comes with its own. So, de-esser here, it's going to do the exact same thing. So you don't have to spend a bunch of money on plugins. It's really just work with what you have. So a de-esser is literally just going to take out the S's. It's going to do exactly what it says.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
So just taking out those like s sounds, and you can see when it's kicking in, because those can get harsh, as you process more and as you, turn the volume up and stuff. So yeah, you usually want to use one of those. And then the next plugin I use is my favorite vocal plugin ever. And if I could just recommend you to get one plugin that will do all this, it's called CLA Vocals, and it's usually on sale for like $25. They do sales all the time, but this is a plugin I've been using for so long, and I just love it. It sounds so good, and it's developed by this guy named Chris Lord Alge, who is a huge just producer, mixer. He's done so many, like the top 40 things, a lot of the pop punk bands, and he's just very, very good. And he developed this plugin kind of based off his processing chain, or so he says. But I'll just play you off and on.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
So again, it's basically just like EQ, low, high, compression, reverb, delay, and then stereo widener. And there's a lot of presets on here. I use one called Start Me Up Dry a lot. Face to Face Dry is more of an aggressive one that I used to use a lot. But Start Me Up is great. And again, this is just preference. Like, I like the sound of a really kind of compressed, like bright vocal. Some people don't like it. That's part of why I started to learn how to mix my own stuff, is because it was very hard to send stuff to a mixing engineer and being like, well, I just want more compression or more reverb. And they would be like, well, no, because you're not supposed to do that much. And to me, it was just like, I just want it to sound the way that I imagine it sounding. So yeah, I don't know. So that's why I like to do my own stuff. But like I said, if you can just get one plugin, get this one for your vocals, because it does pretty much everything. And it's like kind of instant. Just, it sounds good. And I use the delay on here quite a bit. So
starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
So it's crispy. It's nice. And there's some like stuff at the end here. I didn't really take a lot of time to clean up this, noise. Like, you can hear, the recording coming through the headphones. I sometimes don't do that because you don't hear it in the mix anyway. But if you really wanted to do that, you could just go ahead and, just literally just delete it. Like, just kind of fade it out more. Or you can use a gate, which I'll just quickly show you what a gate does. It's kind of an easy way to do this. C1 gates. Here we go. So a gate is basically just going to kind of do that for you. So it's going to, what this plugin is going to do is basically just, you're just going to set a threshold of like, if you don't have, I'm trying to think how to explain it. Like, if you don't have enough volume coming through, it's just going to like shut it down basically. So you can hear this. So it just kind of cleans it up for you, and you can take more time doing this. But, yeah, this is a great, easy way to do it. And again, there's gates that come with your software, so you don't need that one. But yeah, that's basically it for vocal processing that I do personally, besides reverb. So reverb, I'm going to actually show you the one that I use all the time. This one is called Valhalla Vintage Verb, and I use this on basically all my songs.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
I just love the way this one sounds. It's got a really nice, like, warm, cavernous kind of feel, and I just think it's great. So I use this a lot. You can play with all these settings, Some people like to, kind of a complicated thing, but send it to another bus, put it on a different track, and then you can kind of control more of how much of the vocal is going to it. But half the time I just throw it right on the vocal track and kind of mess with the mix. Again, I'm not like a super technical person when it comes to music production. I just for me, I'm like, I know what works, and I just kind of do that. So I'll play the vocal now.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop.
Sounds good. So let's play it with the mix.
Starting with the Middle West, ended with a coffee shop. Waffle House cigarettes, droplings set me off. Drinking at the bar down in Scotland, long lost loves. Snow-covered hilltops, sleeping on the empty bus. We didn't know we were changing. It's been a good run.
So that's it, and I have the time to just copy my, processing onto every vocal track. I have it broken up into a lot of tracks. My sessions are always pretty messy, but it's, it'll have the same processing. This isn't probably exactly the processing I did for the actual song when it was released, but I just wanted to kind of restart it to show you. So yeah, so I'll do my main vocal takes for the chorus, verses, all that. And then, like I said, on the chorus, I didn't do it in this song, but if you want to, you can triple track your vocal. So you can, you'll do your main take of the chorus.
It's been a good run, but I'm fine.
And then you'll do it 2 more times, and you'll pan one all the way to the left, one all the way to the right, and bring those left and right ones down in volume. But what that does is it just like fills out the chorus. And because really, I think with verses and choruses, verses are kind of meant to sound a bit smaller. And then when the chorus kicks in, it's like this big kind of wall of sound. And you can do that really easily by just taking stuff away in the verses and, having it kicking in the chorus. But having stuff like panned hard left and right is a good way to do it too. So that's basically it. Like I already went through like the ooze and, the vocal atmospheres and all that stuff. Let me show you. Let's make a vocal atmosphere thing just to show you how to do it. Let's just use that. So we're going to copy that little take, create a new track. Where should we put it here? Just so you can hear it. Let's put it right there. So I have my vocal take. It's all processed and all that. So what I'm going to do is I have a plugin called Sound Shifter Pitch by Waves. We're going to put that a little higher up before the reverb, and I'm just going to crank it up an octave. So it sounds weird on its own, but then we're going to add Valhalla Vintage Verb, crank it up, and bring the volume down. There you go. Just a nice little accent, it's really easy to do, and that really fills in the space a lot. So yeah, that's it. And then I didn't do many harmonies in this song, but I did some at the end of the chorus here.
What's the fun coming up, tying all your weights out?
So like I said, when I do harmonies, I just double track them. And that's just, like I said, panning one left, one right.
What's the fun of coming up, tying all your weights out?
And that just kind of, sits them on either side of the main vocal so they don't conflict.
What's the fun of coming up, tying all your weights down?
And that is it, basically. And then I have a couple more harmonies at the end.
What's the fun of
right there. And yeah. And then for the end of this song, I took a piece of the vocal, the last word there, and I put a ton of reverb on it. So I'll solo that. I also have delay on there, or an echo, which is just a Logic echo, and it's called Pancake. And basically what this does is it just pans it like left and right, so it's kind of like a nice trippy effect. But I like to have like a reverb tail at the end of my songs just because it kind of gives a more like, I don't know, ethereal vibe at the end. It's like, oh, like where did we end up, because you can decide that, like if you want to end on like a major chord or like a minor chord, it's gonna create a different feeling at the end. But I always like to kind of leave it up to whoever's listening, like, oh, like what journey did I just go on, like. And I put some reverb on the acoustic too, so you can hear that all together.
What's the fun of coming up?
So yeah, that's basically it, honestly, for production on this song. I probably did this in like 8 hours. I usually just will sit and do it until I'm done. And then I master it as well, which is a whole other thing, but this is called Ozone. It's like automated mastering. It's really easy. There's a lot of great presets. CLA Mixdown is a nice plugin that kind of glues your mix together. But yeah, that's basically it. And like I said, if it sounds good, it sounds good. So, you know, making music is about just expressing yourself and whatever you want to say. And if you're not doing that, what's the point? And that's how I feel about it. You know, it's really just like, why do something if you're not enjoying it and it's satisfying you, like creatively? So that's kind of how I approach everything. And again, like I said, I'm still making music. I'm still releasing songs, but like, it's more of just kind of a passion thing at this point. It's like I made an update video a while ago. But yeah, I'm just kind of focused more on filmmaking now and just other things, and, you know, not chasing music. And that's just me. It's just, you know, I just hit that point where I just decided to just chill out a bit and not, you know, make music my identity anymore or revolve my entire life around it, because that's kind of what happens. And it's just been better. And like I said, yeah, hopefully I can help some people by making these. So anyways, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So yeah, hope you got something out of this. Try to do another one of these sometime. And yeah, cool. Well, thank you for all your support and for listening to my music and all that. Really, it means a lot, and it's cool to be able to, you know, have people to share this with. So yeah, anyways, I hope you have a great day or night, whatever it is for you. And yeah, I will talk to you later. Peace.